At EIM, we've been going through the Gospel of Luke, and on June 15th, we considered the famous and difficult saying of Jesus, love your enemies, and the 7 sub-commands that go under that, such as bless those who curse you, pray for those who persecute you. If anyone slaps you on your right cheek, turn to him the other also. All very famous. This is the key core ethic of life in the upside down kingdom that Jesus runs. But how do we live it out? And I didn't really have time in the message on Sunday, on June 15th, but I wanted to share 3 very quick stories. They're not my stories, but 3 very quick stories that kind of illustrate the sub-commands. They're all from people I deeply admire. They're mentor figures. And I realize that all situations are going to be different. But God has given his people the Holy Spirit. And by the Spirit's power, grace, wisdom, and love, we can live these instructions of Jesus out. And so let me share them with you as examples of people filled with the Holy Spirit who are able to demonstrate what Jesus was talking about. First one, bless those who curse you. So prior to coming to Metro Detroit, Lisa and I were in the city of Chicago. We're in a neighborhood called Albany Park, a developing, rundown immigrant neighborhood. It was very dense. One time, and associated kind of problems. One time we were, Pastor Jim and I were standing on the step of the church to the church building. Beautiful summer day. We're talking in the evening. And 2 guys, they had been known to Pastor Jim, I think. They had been kids who'd come by at different times for Sunday school. And now they were probably teenagers. And I'm not sure if they were gangbangers or not. Pastor Jim would have known. They walked by, they saw him on the step with me there across the street. And immediately, I mean, just very quickly, they both gave him 2 middle fingers, not just the one hand doing the middle finger, but both, the double bird, as we say. And without even thinking, Pastor Jim, Lord bless you guys. And they're swearing, F you, Pastor Jim, and it wasn't an act. It wasn't pretense for my sake. He meant it. I knew that he knew their families, at least maybe had seen them around. Their families knew him. Their families knew the church. And Pastor Jim blessed them. And he meant it from his heart. And it wouldn't surprise me if one or both of those guys ended up being at Pastor Jim's funeral in 2020. Next story. Turn the other cheek. Now, turn the other cheek does not mean being a doormat. What it does mean is calling attention to the one who is trying to belittle or show contempt to you by turning the other cheek. And remember, to be hit by the right hand on the right cheek is difficult to do. It's not a Mike Tyson punch out. It's a slap with the back hand. And how do we respond to that? We're offended and get mad normally. But Jesus tells us to turn the other one. That's deliberate. It slows the whole process down. Here, but this is obviously more than just the actual turning of the cheek. How often do people slap each other as an insult or a form of belittling today? But let me give an example of what this does look like in practice. So we served in Eastern Europe, in the Balkans, and a former Republic of Yugoslavia. Very tough country, obviously a lot of ethnic tension. And the national pastor who I worked with there, his wife was actually a foreigner from another country. And one of the things that the local, as soon as they moved to that town, they were not from that town, they were from another town and country, but they moved to that town, and the locals there treated them as if they were foreigners. And yes, his wife technically was a foreigner, but from a nearby country and spoke the same language, so really shouldn't have been an issue. All her paperwork was in order. This is just, the police in that city decided to come and harass the family. And they did it in a, kind of an official looking way. Every Sunday night, one of the policemen came by, knock on the door. Hey, hello, just coming by to take a look at your papers. And so the pastor I work with came and showed them their papers, showed that they were citizens, that his wife actually was a legal immigrant from the nearby country. Okay, no problem. It takes about 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And the policeman's all standing there looking official. And next Sunday, knock on the door, it's policeman again, same policeman. Hey, just coming by to check on your papers. Again, the pastor says, okay, this is a little weird, takes out the papers, shows them, yes, I'm supposed to be here. I'm a citizen. Here's my wife. She's legal, The next week, same thing, next Sunday, knock on the door. Policeman, same policeman. This time, the pastor starts to think, okay, this is harassment. And so he tells the policeman, this is not really appropriate, but he doesn't really say a whole lot there. And he does comply. He gives the papers, shows them, yes, my wife is legal, everything's in order, But he knows what's happening. The next day, he goes downtown to the police station. And he sits down with the chief. And he said, listen, several times in a row now, this policeman has come to our door on a Sunday evening. It's Sunday evening. Want to relax, want to just be at home with my family, but I have this policeman showing up to harass us. Can something be done? And, the chief is, thinking and kind of making excuses and hemming and hawing, And the national pastor I work with says, okay, listen, I realize that there is pretext for what you're doing here. But I want to tell you, if you keep this up, I will make such a big stink in the newspapers, local radio. I'll go to the Capitol. I will tell everyone what you are doing. And everyone will know that this police force is not good. They never got a visit after that. Now, did he comply? Sure. But did he also call attention to the injustice? Did he also ask the abuser, the belittler, those who are trying to show contempt for the pastor and his wife, that they understood and perhaps to help them understand their actions? Yes. And that's what that command is all about. Finally, Jesus also says in that same passage, give and don't expect anything in return. Now, this is a particularly hard one for us. And honestly, we have to be careful that in our giving, we are not enabling, because there is the capacity. Each person has, to more or less, greater or smaller extent, the capacity to take responsibility for themselves and their actions. So we don't want to enable bad behavior with give and do not expect anything in return. However, part of what Jesus has in mind here are the people in his society and the people in every society who are dependent on loans, who are dependent on help in order to get a venture started, in order to get their family through a particularly tough season. And sometimes those aren't going to be paid back. But here, let me give you a story. Scott Mankey is the executive director of Family Empowerment Centers in Chicago. And our team, our STM team, is going to be there in the first week of July. Scott tells a story, and I love this story because it just shares what I think the heart of Jesus looks like for this sub-command. Scott, as the director of a ministry that works with immigrants, with people who are under-resourced in a impoverished not impoverished, but an equal part of the city, deals with people from the very lower end of the income spectrum all the time. And he and his wife, this is several years back, maybe even 1 or 2 decades back, in their apartment. It's his birthday, and they don't get a whole lot of funding. It's a shoestring budget, very, very tight budget. But on Scott's birthday, he decides to, on his back porch, grill himself a steak. This is not a steak-eating family. They didn't have the budget for it. But Scott decides to grill himself a steak, and he's cooking the steak, and a neighbor coming up the back stairs, the fire escape stairs, who Scott knows is not doing well economically, calls out to Scott, says, "Hey, how you doing there? Hey, oh man, I can smell that steak. That smells great." And Scott just knows. He knows what he has to do. He can almost sense. He knows that this person doesn't necessarily know where his next meal is going to be, or perhaps their pantry is a little light. And Scott just says, "Come on over." And so the one steak that he had been saving for himself on his birthday, he now splits in two. And I don't know if Natalie, his wife, was in the picture or not. Maybe she was away. He splits it in two to share with this neighbor. All of us are going to be in different situations than the 3 I just shared with you here. But the ethic of Jesus is the same. And when we hear these stories, we think, "Oh, I'm not there in my faith yet. I still have a long distance to go." Sure, we all do. But the gift of the Holy Spirit is such that when you hear these stories and when I share them, we can ask God, make us people just like that, and even beyond that, where we're able reflexively, without thinking about it, instinctually, to love our enemies, to bless those who curse us, to pray for those who persecute us, to turn the other cheek to an insult, to belittling, to contempt, and to give without asking for it back. May God bless you.